Hello, hello. I am going to have to do a voiceover because I had some serious technical issues. But what I wanted to do today was a video using these really cheap wooden Scrabble tiles and letter tiles that I picked up. They are available on Amazon. I got these from The Works quite a long time ago, and I think the larger ones came from Hobbycraft, the ones with the holes in. So I wanted to use these up because you might want to use a couple in a charm, but I've decided I'm going to use these pieces from the Bug Book, my digital kit, to start with. So these are 1-inch circles. I'm just going to punch a couple of those out, and I'm going to have to try and keep up with what I'm doing. So I might actually add some music in certain places here because obviously there was a lot of video. So on the back of these there was a little sticker which I pulled off, and it's obviously there's a little black spot there. I would paint the back of these, but thinking ahead now, what I would have done is probably have attached the image to the side with a spot on, so one side had a letter and one side had an image. That would have made a lot more sense. So I'm going to glue, I'm using Fabri-Tac. In this particular one, I've glued the image, but it is probably better to glue the tile rather than the image. We're just trying to use up some things. I've got a little bit of white there where I didn't cut it out correctly, but that's okay. That just moved a little bit, so I'm putting that back in place. I'm going to add this particular image to another of the Scrabble style tiles. It's very difficult when you're doing a voiceover. I've not done many, maybe one or two. it's a very odd. And obviously when you're editing, you now have to watch the whole video rather than just skip to pieces that you know needs a bit of editing work done to it. But these are pretty cheap. The little tiles, I think there was the full alphabet, probably more than the full alphabet, and they were about £1, £1 or £2 for the bag. And the other tiles with the holes in, they're a pretty similar price. Actually, they're made from balsa wood. They're not top quality. So I'm going to have a look for a couple of stamps now. So you'll see in a minute that I actually changed my mind about one of them. So this time I am actually gluing the tile, and I want to make sure I get right to the edge and also around that hole because I'm going to be doing something else to these after. So I just want to make sure it's well stuck, make sure I've got those corners there. And taking my stamp, lining it up, and I'm just kind of slightly folding the edges of that stamp to make sure I've got a nice amount of the image on the tile. And then I'm just going to leave that upside down to dry. Just checking that one more time because it slipped when I put it down. I just decide to change the stamp, and I pick this little purple Italian stamp to go on there. And again, should have stuck it to the other side, but I don't. I add it to the side with the letter on. It's all very odd. It's all very odd doing this voiceover thing. I know a lot of people do it all the time, but I'm not so keen. Not so keen. Yeah, I don't know what happened. The last part of this video will have the sound, but the first two parts of the video that I did, yeah, no sound. I've no idea what happened because it didn't change the setup at all. All I did is press stop and start, and some of it's got sound at the end, and these first two videos, part of the video hasn't. So I guess I was kind of thinking it's going to be quicker to do a voiceover than it would be to film again, but I'm only 4 minutes in, so probably not. I'm just going to pull out a box of general bits and pieces that I have from various kits and cutouts and have a little look through here. I'm going to pull out a few things that I like and think would work quite well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speed this little bit up. That's a piece of the Nature's Remedies kit there that I decide to use. So I've got my little pieces, and what I'm going to do now is I decide on this photo first of all, but obviously there's a hole and I need to put the hole in the image, so I don't want to put that over this lovely little girl's head, so I'm quite careful when I line this up. So I'm basically going to follow the same principle, stick these images down, so I'm going to get on and do that. That last piece is a Maki stamp that I stamped onto cardstock, and I did quite a few of them and then put them through my scan and cut. And all I'm going to do now is it's quite easy to cut against this balsa wood, these tiles, so I'm just going to go round and trim off all of the edges with my scissors just to neaten those off. So that's the next step, just trimming off the images. Now they're all trimmed off. I'm trying to pick the glue off my hand. I am quite happy with those. Just have to make a final little piece of trimming there. And what I'm going to do is grab my nail file, and I'm going to just tidy up the edges. Now, you don't have to do what I'm going to do to these. I'm tidying up the edges because I want them flush against the wooden tile. So I go round all of these with the emery board and just soften those edges. And in some places I actually, where I've left the white edge from those 1-inch circle punches, I'm going to actually file that white edge off too. So they're now all filed. I think they look pretty good. They're nice and sturdy, and there you can see I did actually glue to the back, so we've got our letters showing. So what I do with the ones with the hole is I take my pokey tool and I go through the back just to make a tiny little hole so I can see where to poke from the front. You can see the little hole there. So I'll turn it over and I'll poke through from the front, because what that does is it pushes the paper edge into that hole, so it's a little bit neater rather than if I poke from the outside. If you do have a little bit stray, you can poke that in with your pokey tool, or you could go back with your nail file, but don't obviously take too much of the image away. So that's quite cool. I'm going to do that on all of these images on those larger tiles, and like I said, these are super cheap. They're available from Amazon. I know Hobbycraft carries them in the UK, and they are fairly well priced. So these little balsa wood tiles, it's actually cheaper to buy them with the alphabet on than it is to buy blank tiles. The only thing is they are cheaply made, so the edges are not perfect. Some of them are tag shaped, some of them have square edges. They're not perfect, but they're pretty good for the price, and you can do an awful lot with them. So I think that's the last one to put the hole in. I'm just going to poke that little piece into that hole there. Okay, that's the MAKIstamp one. So the next thing I'm going to do to these is just ink around those blank edges. On the larger tiles, they are natural wood, so I'm going to go and ink all of those. And I just ink very slightly over the top of the image, as you can see there. The area that I've filed, that's the one that I left the letter on. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to just ink around the edges. I still can't quite get the hang of this this hole voiceover thing, so I apologise. It's very different to when you're just crafting along and chatting. So that's the last one there, that MAKIstamp tile. I'm definitely going to be doing more of those. I've got some of the butterfly stamped. Now these particular ones are darker on the edges anyway, but I want to go around the image on these. I did try and use Patty Pocket stains on a couple of the plain ones. The only problem I had with that is because it's a natural wood and it's not treated in any way, this balsa wood, super thin, the stain just literally soaked into the wood and wasn't really very dark. So if you were using a wood that's got a nicer edge on it, the Patty Pocket stains might be quite nice on the edge rather than the ink, which I use here. Okay. So I'm really happy with these. The little girl is just so cute. I had a few technical issues there, which, you know, in hindsight, I should have checked that I had sound. You don't think to check you've got sound. But I come back and I think I tell you that, you know, I wasn't sure how much I'd missed. So I look at the little girl tile again. I just love that. That is my favourite, absolute favourite. I think it's beautiful and it's very clear. I've printed onto that particular one, is one of my prints, and I've printed that onto heavyweight matte photo paper, just in case you're wondering. I think, are they all, apart from the MAKIstamps is printed with archival, so that's perfect. The others are, I believe, are all and the stamps, obviously, they're pretty sturdy. You're not going to get a problem with ink running on the stamps. It's just the digital prints where you need to be a little bit more mindful of the fact your ink might run. So I'm getting out my Ranger ultra thick embossing, and I'll do one of them slowly and then I'm going to speed them up because they are all done pretty much the same way. I use the dabber, and because it's been upright and not used for a week or two, it's a bit dry, so it takes me a minute to get that embossing liquid on. So I'm just dabbing, and you can just see a slight sheen there where it finally does ink up. And then I'm going to pop that into my embossing powder. And I'm going to do 3 of them, give that a little push down, but I leave it in there and take my second tile, add the liquid to that, and then I'm going to put that into the embossing powder, and then the third one I'm going to do on camera is that butterfly. Okay, so I'm going to pop that into the embossing powder and then try and find my tweezers in the mess that I have around me. I've been working on a few things earlier in the day, or earlier, started this at 5:30 this morning. Now I'm just going to tap that off. It's actually a lot easier to work with these little wooden tiles than it is with paper or cardstock, actually. So I'm going to get the heat tool out. I don't need to turn the volume off for this because there isn't any. Just bring the camera down and I'm going to heat that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do these 3. Now some of them need a second coat. So what I actually did was put that straight back into the embossing powder. I have done videos on this, so I'm not going to worry too much about the instruction, but some of them will need 2 coats. I think one of them maybe needs 3 coats, but a couple of them need 1 coat, which I think may actually be in the last video. And by magic, they're all done. Okay, a couple of them, this one needed a 3rd coat, and as you can see, there's just like 1 coat on that corner because I clearly missed it the first time round, but I just love this. Look at her little face. Look at that. Oh, she's so cute. And the MAKIstamps one, this also took 3 coats, but that was because basically you kind of have to weigh up how long you leave the heat tool on against how smooth
you want this to go. I'm no embossing expert, but once it gets to a certain temperature, if it still hasn't smoothed over, then I'll just stick it back in the powder and give it another coat, and that seems to do the trick quite nicely. This one only took one coat, so that's just one coat on there, and this one was also one coat. Now, whether or not that one looks perfect for one coat, whether or not, obviously the longer you're doing this, the warmer your heat tool gets. I only use it on the one, I don't use it on the two. Now I might have to put my little pokey tool back through there. This one took 2 coats, and this one also took 2 coats. You can see where I missed the first time round and had to go in again. This only took one. This took 1 coat. So the stack, although you can see I've still got some dimples in there, but that's okay. I'm quite happy with that. I just think they are awesome. I'm going to do something to the back of these, but what I want to do, my gilding wax. I've only got 2. They're not handy. So I'm going to just take my good old faithful oil pastel. I'm just going to add a little bit around here. Actually, I think I might want to use a bit of silver on this black and cream image. Quite warm. Use a little bit around here. I don't need it. You can use any kind of I think the inks probably, oh, that's really neat. And even then, if you like the naked wood look, you don't even have to do that. So I'm really happy with them. I think they're super cool. All you need to do is put a little jump ring through there. I don't like the... Just going to ink that a bit. That's much more pleasing. So if you use the letters, then you've still got the letter on there. But obviously some of these I've used plain. So I link those up. And that is my little craft along with me today. I hope you found it useful and you've now got a way of using up these tiles that you might never use or very rarely use. They do look fantastic with tiny little collages on. And you could, like I said, you don't have to use the embossing powder. You can use glossy accents. You can use a PVA glue, just coat PVA glue over the top. Just be wary, if it's a digital, you might need to put a thinner coat on. If you're using anything like the Tim Holtz ephemera pieces, or if you're using a stamp or a book page, you won't need to worry about that. PVA can go straight on without any issues at all. So I forgot the ones that I did previously that I can show you. I did these ones. So I forgot I was going to show you some of the other bits that I did. So I've done those. I think they look fantastic. I love the vintage looks of those bugs. Okay, so I did those, and also Jessica did some tape. Basically, this is a double-sided tape. I've used score tape, but any tape will do, double-sided. I've added a little bit of glue to the overlap on mine, where the stamps overlapped here, but I've just literally stuck these old stamps. This one I've cut, as you can see. Stuck these old stamps onto this piece of double-sided tape, and you could use these for any kind of embellishments. Loads and loads of things you could use these for. I'm going to do some fabric ones on the wider tape, but do go and check out Jessica's video. It's really, really cool. I had so many ideas swimming around my head. And the pieces that I made in the video using scraps, I carried on and made quite a lot of bits and pieces with my scraps. after I finished filming. I made these little kind of flip notey book things, so made 4 of those. I ended up making a few of these little notebooks. I think there's 5 of those. So I made 5 of those. I was on a roll. I tell you, I was on a roll. And those kind of little mini ephemera folders. What I would say is make sure you're using a washi tape that isn't really sticky, because I had to replace the ephemera in mine, because it pulled all the image up. It was actually a very sticky washi tape that I was using. So I made a few of these. That's 3, 4, 5, and I think these will just look fab tucked in a pocket in a journal. I made some tags with some of the plain scrap with pockets on, so they're ready to decorate one side and then they've got pocket the other, so there's another tag to go into these pockets. So I made a few of those, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I made 6 of those. And then the bigger notebooks, I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So still a little way away from the amount that Gail made. And that was the one with the pocket on the back. And I made 1, 2, 3, 4 of the giant tags with the pockets. So I was busy and I had an absolutely amazing day just crafting. After, oh, I can't show you those either because they contain some of my new kit. So now I really am done, and I will see you again soon. Thanks for joining me. I really do appreciate all of your support and comments. And wow, I try not to look at the subscriber numbers, but thank you to all of the new subscribers. It's absolutely amazing. A huge congratulations to Gail. Big clap. Well done, Gail. That's awesome news. And I wanted to say one more thing. Gordon. Gordon from my Facebook group. Thank you so much for looking after those kittens. It did really worry me until you said you were looking after them. So thank you for that. I will see you again soon. Bye.